Hi, I'm Diane Maceda. We're learning new details about the mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas, as students across the country are demanding action, staging walkouts at schools from Virginia to Michigan, Wisconsin, and California. President Biden and the First Lady will travel to Uvalde on Sunday, where they'll meet with community leaders and families of victims. All this as officials are now telling a different story about how long it took officers to enter the school and how the shooter got in. Chief National Correspondent Matt Gutman is outside Robb Elementary with the latest.
Parents demanding answers from law enforcement, incensed that an 18-year-old was able to go on an hour-long rampage, killing 19 children and 2 of their teachers. Authorities now admitting it appears the gunman entered the school's main building from an unlocked door. Police studying this video appearing to show him walk in.
He walked in unobstructed initially.
Officials say at 11:28 a.m., the suspect crashed his grandmother's car on the perimeter of the school, got out with an AR-style rifle and a backpack filled with ammunition, and fired at 2 nearby witnesses as he made his way toward the school. The first 911 call made at 11:30 a.m., which protocol states should have immediately triggered a lockdown. Over the next 10 minutes, police say the gunman walked outside the school, firing at it. He climbed over a fence, entered the building at 11:40 a.m. At 11:43 a.m., the Uvalde School District posting on Facebook that a lockdown was now in effect for the entire campus. But by then, the gunman was already inside. 10-year-old Gemma Lopez was in a classroom down the hall.
When did you notice that something was wrong?
Well, whenever the bullet came through the wall. So I turned off the lights, everybody went up under the table.
And had you practiced lockdown drills?
Yes, since kindergarten or pre-K.
Since kindergarten. But this time, there was no lockdown?
No.
Authorities say 4 minutes after the shooter entered the building, law enforcement was inside but took fire. They retreated and called for additional resources. Starting to film the commotion was Jesse Ortiz, who lives across the street. His video, exclusive to ABC News, shows officers taking cover behind a vehicle.
Did you tell them to go in?
I was yelling, like, why don't you guys go in? Why don't you guys go in?
The video then shows a team going in, but they held outside the classroom. Police say to focus on evacuating other children from the school. As Ortiz kept filming, the chaos unfolding in the street.
Get across the street!
Parents clashing with police.
Diane, the school district recently doubling its funding for security. It added extra officers. Now remember, they had drilled for just such an incident a couple of months ago, but investigators tell me the most basic measures meant to slow down an attacker were not implemented. Things like calling a lockdown early and just keeping the outside doors of the building locked. And it raises questions whether any such measures can actually stop a lone wolf attacker armed with an AR-style rifle who is willing to die from entering a building like that. Diane.
All right, Matt Gutman, thank you. And we're now hearing directly from one of the survivors from inside that classroom at Robb Elementary School, as we're also learning of a new tragedy. The husband of one of the teachers killed has passed away from a heart attack. Their 4 children have now lost both parents this week. ABC's Maria Villarreal is in Uvalde and has been speaking with the families of those lost and that 10-year-old boy now recounting the horror he witnessed.
When he went in the classroom, he said, "You're all gonna die," and he just started shooting.
A chilling account for the first time of what went on inside that classroom where multiple children and 2 teachers were fatally shot.
I was playing dead, so he won't shoot me.
10-year-old Samuel Salinas, one of the few survivors from his class, now recovering after an injury to his leg.
He shot my teacher, and then he shot the kids. I think he was aiming at me, like the thing. And then he, I guess, one of the chairs were there, so it blocked it, and pieces in my leg.
Most of his friends and classmates not making it out alive.
I kind of don't feel safe going to school, and I feel hot, and sometimes at night I have nightmares too.
Also inside that classroom, 10-year-old Tess Mata.
It happened here, and it killed my baby.
Tess adored her big sister Faith, loved making TikToks, and kept people laughing.
She put a smile on everybody's face every time. She was always dancing. She always had the biggest smile ever.
Evadulia Horta's son, Rogelio Torres, also one of the victims.
Losing that little piece of my heart, I lost my son.
The mother of four says Rogelio was loving, happy, and liked to help others.
I think about him, what happened that day, what was going on in that classroom that he was in. He was crying out for me or something, I'm not sure. I'm just like, what was his last, what he saw last.
And Eli Garcia, she was known to love Encanto and her abuelita, Nelda Lugo, who says every time she saw her granddaughter, she would run to her and give her hugs.
Siempre que llegaba, hi grandma, I love you.
And also being remembered, Nevai Bravo and Leila Salazar, and Alexander Rubio, or Lexi, was an all-A honor student, her mother calling her beautiful and smart, sharing on Facebook, "We told her we loved her and would pick her up after school. We had no idea this was goodbye." Unimaginable tragedy compounded. Just days after teacher Irma Garcia was gunned down, her husband Joe Garcia dying of a heart attack. The two were about to celebrate their 25th wedding anniversary. One of his final moments, laying flowers at the love of his life's memorial. They now leave behind 4 children, seen here at a mass for the family, held in the pastor's embrace. Several of the victims are still recovering here in San Antonio. One family telling me as their son gradually starts to talk about what happened, it is difficult for him to share, but as a parent, it is excruciating to listen to what their child went through on that awful day. Diane?
Excruciating is right. Maria Villarreal, thank you. And we're expecting an update from the Texas Department of Public Safety within the hour as investigators examine the law enforcement response to this shooting. Senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky joins me live now for more. Aaron, they tried to clarify this timeline yesterday, but still left a lot of questions unanswered. So what holes are they trying to fill at this point?
There are 2 things they're looking at, Diane. One is outside, and when exactly did the shooter arrive? What was he doing? They've got a 10-minute window when it appears the gunman crashed his car, opened fire on 2 witnesses to that car crash, and then seems to have been walking around the school, firing at the building before making his way inside. One question, why was he not confronted by officers? As the governor initially said, we now know from the state police, it does not appear he was confronted by anyone. And why was the door unlocked that he was able to go in? Was it because there was a parent event? The other question, of course, is the hour gap while the gunman is inside the school. As Maria points out, an excruciatingly long period of time before he is taken down by a tactical team from Customs and Border Protection. The protocol for active shooters around the country has been to go in, not to wait for tactical gear or heavier armaments, but to go in with whoever you have and whatever you have. Some officers did go in. They were repelled by gunfire, but we've seen those videos of other officers remaining outside.
There are also accounts now of family members who say they were there, frustrated that police were not entering the building and that they were actually handcuffed, trying to either encourage police to go in or maybe trying to go in themselves. The U.S. Marshal's Office is saying nobody was arrested, nobody was handcuffed. What do you make of that?
We have to figure out the discrepancy because we've seen those accounts from parents, both to the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, saying they were physically restrained and even handcuffed and prevented from trying to get to their own loved ones by U.S. Marshals and other officers on scene. The Marshal Service says they did not arrest anybody, did not put anyone in handcuffs, but parents are clearly angry at the response and that they were inhibited from doing something that they feel some of the police officers were unwilling to do.
The Department of Public Safety is asking for patience right now as they try to gather more information, get the story clear. But given how much the story's already changed, how do you think this is affecting the credibility with that community?
We've already heard from law enforcement around the country saying that this is a disgrace to law enforcement, not only the response, but the way the information has been unfolding, because it's been incorrect at a number of stages, corrected, and the one thing the Texas Department of Public Safety seems to have conceded is that there are questions they are going to have to answer to satisfy the public and figure out what had happened. Were the officers in proper communication? Did the officers outside even know what was unfolding right in front of them? Were they told the correct information, or were they treating this not as an active shooter, but simply as a suspect who was barricaded? the shooting already done? Still so many questions for them to answer today.
And they all kind of lead to the same question, which is, could this have been stopped? But those questions are now going even farther back than everything that you and I just discussed. Among other things, ABC News is now being told that the shooter sent concerning messages to people, and people are now saying, yeah, he sent me, strange messages, posted strange messages on social media. What do we know about that?
These were digital red flags, potentially, Diane, that were sent to users that the suspect had met online, and some of them seem to indicate that he would be violent. He sent pictures of guns and other disturbing messages that were not taken seriously at the time.
All right, Aaron Katursky, thank you as always. And former President Trump, Senator Ted Cruz, and other prominent Republicans are scheduled to speak at an NRA convention in Houston today. Texas Governor Greg Abbott announced he would not attend in person anymore, but he'll speak in a pre-recorded address. Courtney Carpenter from our Houston station, KTRK, joins me live now for more on that. Courtney, what message are the NRA and these speakers expected to relay, and how are Texans responding to this convention being held in the wake of the Uvalde shooting?
Well, Diane, as far as the messaging, we know former President Trump tweeted out or made that statement about Americans needing real leadership and real solutions here, but specifically don't know exactly their messaging. But as far as how people are taking it, well, here in Houston, there's certainly people who are not happy with this. We were out there yesterday in front of City Hall where there were protesters. There's protesters gathering here now. A lot of people saying, having signs, no NRA at the GRB, the convention center here. They do not want this convention taking place here, and especially not right now.
Now, Governor Abbott was supposed to attend in person, but he's now leaving a taped message. Texas's lieutenant governor just announced he's pulling out of the convention. Any other big names dropping out, and how's that being received?
Well, Congressman Dan Crenshaw and Senator John Cornyn both also pulled out, but it was before the shooting happened. As far as other big names pulling out, all the musicians, several musicians pulled out yesterday. Lee Greenwood, Larry Gatlin, Don McLean, all deciding in light of the shooting not to perform here at the convention like they talked about. We spoke to one person earlier this morning who is here in town from Illinois from the convention. We asked him, what do you think about people pulling out? And he said it's really up to them. He didn't really have any sort of comment other than that, just saying that it didn't really matter to him. But overall, I think optics with the politics is certainly something playing into those big names not coming at this point. Guys, back to you.
Courtney Carpenter from KTRK in Houston. Thanks, Courtney. And students at schools across the country are walking out of class, protesting against gun violence and lawmakers' refusal to implement broadly supported gun legislation. An ABC News and Washington Post poll found 89% of Americans support universal background checks on gun purchases, and 86% support red flag laws that allow courts to temporarily confiscate weapons from people deemed to be a danger to themselves or others. Now, some Republican senators say they're willing to talk with Democrats to see if bipartisan solutions are within reach. White House correspondent Mary Alice Parks joins me live now for more on that. Mary Alice, how much movement has there been on Capitol Hill when it comes to getting at least some of these more popular measures onto the floor?
Yeah, Diane, I think it's so important, that point you made. Some of these gun safety measures are so widely popular, the overwhelming majority of Americans asking Congress to implement them. And I think that those things like universal background checks and red flag laws are exactly the kinds of proposals that are on the table with this bipartisan group of senators. We will see if they can come to an agreement. It was interesting that Republican Senate leader Mitch McConnell gave the green light for this group to work. Senator Schumer, the Democratic leader, said they had about 10 days. He's trying to make sure that the urgency is maintained. The senators left Washington for the Memorial Day recess, but this group says they will continue to work. And so we will see if they come back with a proposal that at least has some bipartisan support.
And President Biden and the First Lady are set to visit Uvalde this weekend. What's on their agenda?
Yeah, we know they're planning to meet with families of victims, families related to the school. Obviously, it's such a small town. We've heard these stories, how everyone has a personal connection to someone who lost their life or was there that day. They're going to meet with community leaders, faith leaders. I think they really just want to lend support and love in this moment of grief.
Now, Texas Governor Greg Abbott is blaming the mass shooting on mental health issues. Where does Texas stand with mental health support, and how do leaders there, what's their record, and how are lawmakers trying to address this side of the issue?
Yeah, a lot of advocates sort of calling attention to this, really frustrated that Governor Abbott has been making this point, because they know that actually in Texas, there's been a real gutting of mental health services. So many mental health service providers have had to leave the state, a lack of funding, clinics closed down, Texas ranking really near the bottom nationwide in access to mental health services. Look at this stat on the screen right now, really stark. Nearly 4 million Texans live in counties where there's more access to guns, more gun dealerships available than mental health services. And it's an issue we're seeing across the country, Diane. 1,500 counties in the U.S. have more gun dealers than mental health service providers. And this one, too, 570 counties have zero, absolutely no mental health service providers. That's according to federal data. This number is really just shocking. 41 counties in the country have 10 times as many gun dealers as mental health providers. So really, you just feel for those families that might be looking for mental health support but struggling to find it, and then people wanting to commit crimes so able to quickly access guns. And a lot of advocates really pointing to this discrepancy as such a part of the problem. Diane.
Right. Mary Alice Parks in Washington for us. Thank you. And do stay with us. We'll be right back with more of the day's top stories. Welcome back. We are less than a week away to Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee. She'll be the UK's first monarch to celebrate this 70-year milestone. Our Maggie Rulli is at Buckingham Palace in the middle of all the action with some special access to all the festivities.
The kitchens inside Buckingham Palace are buzzing, prepping for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebration. And we got an exclusive inside peek at what they're cooking up.
Well done.
Mark Flanagan is the personal chef to the Queen and the head chef of the royal household, meaning he and his team of 22 chefs not only work with the royal family to create special menus 7 days a week, they're also behind the delicious food at every important royal function, from state dinners and royal weddings to spring garden parties, where he says his team whips up 20,000 sandwiches, 20,000 slices of cake, and about 27,000 cups of tea for every event.
What's it like for you to know that you're a part of living history?
Yeah, that's kind of true. Things that we do, menus that we create for events will be looked back on in years to come.
And that history is all around us. We find copperware dating back to the 1800s.
You see VR right there.
Yeah, that dates back to Queen Victoria. So,
wow, that's incredible.
Just imagine how many meals have come through those pots, how many different chefs have worked with them.
Yeah. I have an official Buckingham Palace apron.
And they even let this American have a turn in one of England's most famous kitchens.
All right, what are we making today?
Today's menu, scones, a necessity for afternoon tea.
Aha! You see? The faster I egg wash, the faster I can try them. Did you say they're perfect? Perfect. Ready to go on the oven. Oh, look at those.
I learned extra clotted cream and jams fresh from royal estates are a must.
It's so good.
Maggie really making us all jealous. Thanks, Maggie. Coming up, channeled outrage into change. How a 14-year-old is working to end Asian hate in her community when we come back. Welcome back. In honor of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Soul of a Nation has a special episode tonight. It spotlights members of the community that are standing up against Asian hate and demanding change, including one 14-year-old girl on a mission. Juju Chang has her story.
Mina Fedor was just 12 when the alarming acts of anti-Asian hate suddenly hit home.
This lady coughed at my mom. I felt like the power was taken from me. The lady who did that didn't see a mom. She didn't see an American. She just saw like an Asian lady.
Thank you all for coming out today.
The middle schooler channeled her outrage into organizing a rally at a nearby park. She expected maybe 50 people. 1,200 showed up.
But we as youth have a chance to build our future, to raise our voices, and to demand change.
With her friends, she formed AAPI Youth Rising and launched 1 by 180, asking teachers to teach AAPI history one day out of the 180-day school year.
It's kind of dawned on you that one of the ways to fight racism is through awareness and education.
I stumbled upon this whole AAPI history curriculum that I didn't know. And I was like, oh, geez, I have never been taught any of this. I don't even know what that is.
And now it seems a bit of Mina's fire has rubbed off.
One gentleman just yelled at me, "Go back to your country." And I shocked, and I said, "I'm an American citizen. This is my country."
You're getting emotional.
Well, yeah, it's actually because I didn't hear this story until recently, actually. But no, I'm proud of you, Mom.
Do you think Mina inspired you?
Do you think so? It's interesting to think of your child as someone leading you. But sometimes that's how I feel now. Here she is.
3 beautiful generations of women embracing their identity and embracing each other. Diane?
All right, our thanks to Juju Chang. And you can see Together as One, a Soul of a Nation presentation tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central on ABC and streaming tomorrow on Hulu. And thank you for joining us. I'm Diane Macedo. Stay with us as ABC News Live continues with more news, context, and analysis.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.